Welcome all. Come, have a seat. It's time for another Jovial Entertainment on the Chopping Block Top 5. Today's topic is comic book movie villains. So we're going to do our top 5 comic book movie villains. For real. Here's my list. I'm going to rattle them off.
Alright.
Okay, number 5. Abomination. So my number 5, or my top 5, is the octopus from The Spirit. This is Samuel L. Jackson. You know, he's played villains before in films, you know, like Unbreakable. Awesome film. But I just feel like the octopus, such a different, like, quirky villain. Like, it was such a fun film. Like, you've seen The Spirit, right? Nope. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
you've seen it though. It's got Gabriel Mark as the Spirit.
Yeah.
And he's awesome, you know, from Suits. But yeah, Samuel L. Jackson, just in anything, he obviously always nails it. But the octopus, he's just so much fun. He's this weird, like, wacky kind of genius scientist dude who basically wants to become immortal.
Immortality. All 5 sweet syllables of it.
He's funny, and I just enjoyed his performance so much that it'd be a shame to not put him on this list when all the other villains are, you know, they're all scary and dark most of the time anyway. So that's why he's my number 5.
He stuck out for you because he was kind of quirky.
Absolutely.
Nice. Well, my number 5 is Mama from Dredd. I quite like Dredd. I've mentioned Dredd before. But I went with Mama because I like the fact that she had, you know, this is, I think, the only villain in my list where she'd already established her place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With every other villain, it's, you know, the hero's there, you have maybe like an origin story or something, and they kind of come in and they try and have a plan or something. Mama was already established, you know, and there was a law behind it kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was more like, it wasn't her we weren't trying to stop her from having, there was her distributing the slow-mo, but it was something that she was already an established part of this world, and I just like how vicious she was. Not necessarily in the film, even though she really was, but I remember just like the lore behind her was really just dark and just brutal, and made me remember her. Like, I remember one line particularly was she feminized the guy with her teeth. I was like, oh shit, you know, this is ruthless, and she looks the part. She looks the part, and she's just that kind of viciousness that just stays with you, and that's why she's my number 5.
But instead you let yourself get taken like the dumb fuck you are.
But I'm...
Shut the fuck up.
Okay, my number 4 is, I guess, a bit of a weird one because it's not. I haven't really gone with a character as such, but I've chosen Hydra from the Marvel universe. Just in general, like the idea of Hydra, the fact that they've infiltrated, you know, all these, you know, they infiltrated with S.H.I.E.L.D. And who knows where else they've got their men and all their sleeper agents and all that. I just think it's a really scary idea that it's basically an unknown threat, like as far as like quantity and when and where they're going to strike. If I narrow down a film at least, so obviously I'll refer to The Winter Soldier. It's a great film, and Winter Soldier being, forced to be an agent of Hydra.
Lucky?
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, who knows, you know, where their bloody Hydra heads stretch to. So I just think we'll be seeing a lot more of Hydra.
So my number 4 is Dr. Octavius from Spider-Man 2.
Wait, I got it. Dr. Octopus.
Kind of a tragic villain. You know, he starts off and he wants to do something for the people, and everyone's like, oh, you know, he's going to do this, the fusion project thing, and it goes south, and then his robot arms just have a mind of their own.
Oops.
And shit just gets real. I like Dr. Octavius just because, you know, he does have that. He's one of the villains that has kind of like a turn from good to villain, then villain back again, and it doesn't. He does it without being cheesy, which can be hard to do. But I feel like he executed that really well, and also his design's really cool. He's probably the most physically intimidating on my list, and he also provides perhaps like the best fight sequences on my list as well.
Right.
And probably the most memorable and definitely like the Spider-Man universe
Yeah,
today.
for sure. Yeah.
And that's definitely a big factor. So yeah, he's my number 4.
I've chosen Catwoman from Batman Returns. Mostly because, like, she's not a big threat as far as, like, you know, villains with ultimate plans and that sort of things go. But, you know, she's just out for herself. But mostly, for me, well, the reason why she made my list is because Michelle Pfeiffer's performance was incredible. Just the switch between her being regular, like, dorky Selena Kyle and then this, you know, sultry, you know, scary kind of sounding Catwoman.
Meow.
It's just insane. Like, that contrast is incredible, and she nailed that role. And she holds her own against Batman, so I think that's worthy of being in this list anyway. She puts up a good fight against him. She gets a few scratches in there. And Catwoman. And also, the design of the costume is possibly still my favorite Catwoman design out of anything, including the cartoons as well.
She looks hella sweet in that latex. Ooh, yeah.
I don't know about you, Miss Kitty, but I feel so much yummier.
So my number 3 is Loki. A bit generic, I suppose. A bit predictable, but predictable for a reason. You know, he's kind of earned his place as a villain that's kind of stuck with people in the MCU. That's one thing that a lot of people say that the MCU hasn't done well, is villains that stay with you. And I think the best part about Loki is that, as well as being manipulative and he's shown that kind of darker side, he's shown vulnerability. And that's like the best part of him. You know what he wants, but he's kind of got this frailty about him. I always feel like he does manipulate his brother and he manipulates his father and all that, but like in the first Thor, he did kind of care about his father and stuff to a degree.
Yeah.
And that, you know, he wanted his approval. And I feel like he's getting to a point where, you know, he's going to reach a crossroads. That's what it feels like to me. And I feel like it's just subtleties in Tom Hiddleston's performance that allow me to see, like, he's doing bad things at the moment. Terrible things. But there is definitely a layer beneath that where, you know, he's got the vulnerability and he's got this kind of capacity for seeing, you know, things at a greater angle. And that's why I really like him, as well as being charismatic, obviously.
I am a god, you dull creature, and I will not be bullied by that.
I've mentioned this before, that this character is my favourite character of all time, but I've gone with the Joker.
Something?
Are you serious?
I'm sorry. But I have good reason for my real number one. We'll get there. We'll get to that. Anyway, the Joker, my favorite character of all time. I'm not even gonna like pick between like any of the Jokers portrayed: Heath Ledger, Jack Nicholson, even Cesar Romero. I'm not gonna go there. The Joker in general is well more than worthy of being on this list. He's just the ultimate villain, the ultimate Batman villain. He's incredible. He's insane.
I'm not. No, I'm not.
His plans are to not have plans, effectively, just to ruin shit.
Do I really look like a guy with a plan?
Just to make everyone's day bad, and I just love that.
What could you want?
Absolutely. I have so many things to say about the Joker, but I'm gonna restrain myself.
My number 2 is Magneto, another villain who's got more than one actor. Both actors just slay it. Michael Fassbender and Ian McKellen just slay the role. Magneto's great because, you know, first and foremost, he's got like a connection to one of the main protagonists, and Professor X. And you sympathize with him in the way that he doesn't want to see his kin suffer, because that's all he's really been subjected to. So he's kind of like, he's seen the worst of humanity, and so he's fighting. I mean, he's got kind of like the right idea, but he's executing it quite terribly. He doesn't have any regard for human life, really. But yeah, I mean, it's so easy to make a villain that's, I guess, just evil. But you know, once you see Magneto's perspective, you can understand why he's doing the things that he's doing, and you can almost be on his side at times, until he does the really crazy shit, then you're not on his side. But for the most part, he's just a really laid villain who wants the best for his people, kind of thing.
The war is still coming, Charles, and I intend to fight it. By any means necessary.
My number one is Ozymandias, however you say it, from Watchmen. Because like you said about Magneto, here is a character who has sort of seen the worst in humanity, or at least knows what humanity is capable of.
Destruction by nuclear war.
And sets plans or a plan in motion to fix it, basically. And the reason he is my number one is because he succeeds. His plan works. He sets out to do something, which is to stop war by introducing this threat that he's created to scare the world into thinking that there's this. I suppose I was going to say in the comic book it's an alien race, but in the movie, which I think was actually really clever, he blamed it on Dr. Manhattan, who's this all-powerful being basically, and he convinces the world that he's the bigger threat, and it puts the world sort of there's no more war, or at least for the time being.
Unites them against
exactly.
the common
He unites
threat.
all the nations of the world against this common threat because Dr. Manhattan's just bloody blown up cities all around the world. He doesn't give a shit where you're from. And his plan succeeds. I mean, but he's an ultimate villain because obviously he kills millions of people with this plan. Yeah. And it's a terrible, terrible thing. But he's a bloody genius, and he catches a bullet. Yeah, I just love. It gets to the point where Night Owl and Silk Spectre and that they show up, and he explains his ultimate plan to them, and generally in superhero type movies, this is the point where while he's explaining it, they figure out a way to stop it. But he's explaining it, but it's already happened. He's already won, and I just love that, the fact that here's a villain who sets out to do something and he actually succeeds.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. That's why he's the ultimate villain.
Where's that Taylor guy? Taylor, come.
Hey, what's going on?
I remember you had some kind of objection to the Joker being number 3 for Chris. Two.
Terrible.
What would your number 1 have been?
Mine would have been the Joker.
Yeah. Alright.
If I was selfish, mine would have been the Joker.
Explain.
If I was selfish.
Let me explain. The reason why, for all the reasons that Chris said, but the reason why for me the Joker is just the ultimate villain is that, the combination of Batman and the Joker is the quintessential villain and hero kind of archetype. Because you have the polar opposite personalities on one side, the somber, brooding Batman, very cold and calculated, and then you have the Joker, which is this crazy kind of, it's like an explosion that's barely contained kind of thing in terms of his personality, and like you said, he just wants to see the world burn. To quote Mr. Kane,
"Some men just want to watch the world burn."
Is this when you think of a villain, you want someone who's intimidating, you want someone who's memorable, you want someone who not necessarily has something that you could relate to, but you almost see them and think, like, this could happen, this could be real. And again, like, I almost feel like there are certain things in the world happening right now where people are doing things, they have just the slimmest justification, like barely a justification at all for doing what they're doing, and they're doing this crazy shit, and the Joker's almost like the embodiment of that. Right. He's just doing this. He wants to see the world burn.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
He doesn't need a justification because, in the real world, sometimes people don't even want a justification. They just want to see the world burn.
Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Because he's just sick of it all. And the Joker is like the perfect personification of that, and just the perfect kind of personification of chaos as a whole. And there's no better way to show it than the Joker. Especially, I'd say Heath Ledger's, but Jack Nicholson did a fantastic job as well, obviously. And Mark Hamill's always my favourite. He's unfortunately not in films. But yeah, that's my number 1.
Introduce a little anarchy. Upset the established order, and everything becomes chaos.
So that is the end of our top 5 comic movie villains, whatever.
Movie villain, yep.
Yeah, swapping around, whatever. Like and subscribe, etc., etc.
Check out our other top 5 videos, film
Oh, we
reviews.
have like skits and stuff as well.
We do.
That's us. See you next time on
This channel.
Yes.
The Joker sends his regard.